True. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to Shattering Ceilings. It's Lauren.
And Megan. That was creepy.
No, it wasn't creepy. And we are excited because we are going to be talking about the holidays. And if you haven't noticed, you're getting the whole month of December of me and Meg. So happy holidays,
no
guys.
interviews. This is our gift to you this holiday season. It's us.
Yeah, it's us. But yeah, we are officially, with this episode dropping, 12 days till Christmas. And I'm sure there are some things that have already come up, right? Holiday related.
Oh my gosh, I don't know about for you, but definitely for me. Feeling the need to do things, the need to have my house perfect and go see the Christmas lights and all, whatever, all the activities.
Just said that last night. We need to go see all the Christmas lights. Let's drive around. I love doing that though. That was like a great memory of mine when I was a kid. How about you?
Yeah, I do love it. And something that I love about here, I'm sure it's everywhere, but there's a lot of people that really like go over the top, and they'll have like radio stations that have music connected to their, I love sitting outside. Yeah. Or even
candy
outside somebody's
canes.
house. Yeah.
I know. I love that too. I feel like you're right. Like, well, maybe they were there, but now with social media, you know about it because your friends are saying like where to go. Whereas before, there was this one place that we always went through and like they would have a Santa there, but now it's like, oh, there's go see the Griswolds, redone down in South Jersey. And then this person over here, like our town actually has like a map now. And it's like the holiday. Yeah. And they number the houses and then you vote too. It's like who's cute. Yeah, it's pretty cool. So we definitely
It's so fitting for South Jersey. Everything's got to be a competition.
Is that a Jersey thing?
I don't know. I feel like it's super competitive. Everybody that I met was super competitive.
I don't know. I feel like the Belles of the South would do the same thing. I don't know.
Yeah, you're probably right. Yeah, it's just different. That comes in Mardi Gras.
Yeah. Oh, well, that is something that I should set an intention for 2023 to come see that.
Oh my God.
Which would be soon, right? Because that's like
it's like the end of February.
Can we make that work? We shall see. But yeah, let's get into it a little bit. So feelings of when we say the word holidays,
what comes to mind?
Do most people cringe? I feel like they're like, oh, it's coming way sooner than I really wanted to.
Right. Let's do a check-in right now real quick. So we're going to say this one more time. The holidays are coming. Christmas is 2 weeks away. How does your body feel?
My stomach.
Did you hold your breath?
I held my breath. My stomach was like,
My brain is like, oh my God, we have not gotten all of our Christmas gifts yet.
Same.
My tree is still not up.
Yeah. I mean, the tree just got decorated. The house I still don't have lights up. I have to put lights up. And then my brain also goes to, is it worth it? Because we have less time now.
Right. There's only a couple weeks.
But then for the kids, like it's so worth it for the kids, right?
Right. But are they gonna, so this is just, my thoughts right now. We never hung Christmas lights at our house in Jersey. It was 2 stories. I was not getting on the second floor. Aaron certainly was not going to get up on the roof.
Oh, is he afraid of heights?
He is afraid of heights.
So is Bob. Like he will not. Really? Yeah, I know, right? Like these guys that have every other gift are afraid to get on the roof. However, I get up on the roof and hang the lights.
That does not surprise me. I was never going to do it. And now we're in a 1-story house. I'm like, oh, should we? And my kids are like, oh, Mom, they have this and they have that. And like I just said, everybody decorates here. Like it's really big. So I'm like, yes, we are the dark house on the street. Sorry.
we still are as well. But yeah, like let's talk about that a little bit too. Like you kind of mentioned like kids not just holiday season. They often put pressure on us.
Yeah, not purposely, just because they're kids and they see it, they love it, they want it.
Exactly. But I think this time of year especially, all the time, but this time of year especially, obligations come up a lot, or feeling like you are obligated to do something. And for me in the past, I think that's been a huge pressure. And this is the first year that I'm finally like not feeling as pressured and like wanting to say no more to things.
Yeah. And so that's kind of what we want to talk about today. What are the pressures that you feel during the holiday, and how are some ways that you can really like come back and check in with yourself to figure out if it's something that you're doing because you feel like you should or you need to, or if it's something that you're doing because you really actually want to and it's going to be an enjoyable experience. Because the holidays
Right.
can be stressful, like
Yeah.
so stressful that we end up missing out on the whole point of it, right? It's to
Mhm.
enjoy each other, it's to celebrate, it's to spend time with family and loved ones.
Mhm.
How often, and I'm just going to ask this question for everybody, like how often throughout the holidays are you so caught up in what you need to do that you miss out on what the holidays are actually for?
Right. The feeling of like needing to get everything done too at a
Yeah.
deadline or for a deadline. Like I think that pressure is real for so many people. You know, the sales that are going on, it's like
Oh my
FOMO of am
gosh,
I going
yes.
to get that on at the right price or whatever the holiday toy is. I feel like there's always one, right? Like that they
Yeah.
sell out of and people are on a crazy like
Rampage.
journey to find. Yeah. Right. They've made movies literally about that.
Yes.
Right. Um but yeah, like from baking cookies to being, at Aunt Susie's, like, holiday dinner or whatever it may be, like,
Mhm.
I think everyone can resonate with that, like feeling that kind of pressure, you
Yeah, I feel
know?
like the perfectionism really comes out at this time of year. I don't know
Yeah.
about like I'm like, "Oh my gosh, my gifts, like they need to have fancy bows and I need to go collect twigs outside so that they look beautiful like all these Pinterest pictures." I
Are
mean, I
you
literally
tying
never.
them? Oh my gosh.
Absolutely not, but I
Oh, okay.
do
I'm
think
like,
about it
Megan?
every
Oh my
year.
God. Yeah.
No, I'm
Mhm.
like I do the bare minimum.
Mhm.
But I like I mean, I'm living in the South, especially, now, like there are moms or people that do go that extra mile and they post a picture of their tree and every
Mhm.
gift is just perfect. Like we don't even have our tree up. We don't have gifts under our tree yet. By the time you
Yeah.
guys are
Oh, me
hearing this,
neither.
hopefully I will. But
Yeah. I
like
don't
there
put
are
the
the people that
presents
do it and
out.
I feel the pressure, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, one thing we stopped doing, when we started having kids, we would post that picture on Facebook or whatever, like Santa came, and
Yeah.
because I guess I saw other people do it. And I don't know. My first kid, I was like, this is exciting. I get to play Santa. It wasn't so much keeping up with the Joneses at that point. It was like, I get to play Santa now. And I would post that picture. But then, other people start doing, and you start to see, and then you play that whole comparison thing.
Oh
And
yeah, I'm
so
not doing enough or
right.
whatever.
So my husband a long time ago said to me, he goes, and don't you dare post a picture that Santa came with the presents under the tree. And so I stopped doing that. And I think and not, like for good measure, like he doesn't want it to seem like, again, like what did we get for our kids or how many gifts are under the tree? And again, it's not the point of Christmas
Right.
anyway. You know what I mean? So we no longer do that. And if you do that, that's fine. Like, just check with yourself and ask yourself, am I doing this because I truly want to, which is a good question for anything, right? For
Mhm.
any practice this season or in life. Am I doing it because I really want to, or am I doing it because I feel like societal pressure to do it?
Right. And just to check in, like for somebody that is maybe having a Christmas or maybe every Christmas is a really tough time for you because it's financially stressful. Like this is a time of year where a lot of people put themselves into a place of financial stress that
Right?
sets the next year up for a lot more stress because you're trying to pay off
Yes.
credit cards or whatever. Like, I mean, I
Right.
can speak for myself. We've been talking about it all
Yeah.
year. Like, this is a tough year for us. I'm not working full time right now. So
Mm-hmm.
Aaron and I are having to be a lot more intentional about how we're spending.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, can we afford this? Can
Right.
we afford this? And I'm over here like, oh my God, we just moved. This needs to be the best Christmas ever because my kids, it's gonna be different for them. And they've had so much stuff that they've had to go through this year in making such a big transition that I
Mm-hmm.
want to make it extra special. So I started putting the pressure on myself of like getting all
Mm.
these extravagant things that we can't afford, that is going to create, you know, issues in my relationship. We're going to be stressed. We're going to be fighting more. We're going to be shorter tempered.
Mm-hmm.
How is that
Mm-hmm.
going to affect the way that we're showing up with our kids through the holidays? Yes, they've got these great
Right.
gifts, but I'm so stressed out that I'm yelling more or whatever. Like, don't let that pressure for things to be and look a certain way
Mm-hmm.
put you into a bind later on. It's okay if you can just afford one gift for your kid, or maybe you buy an experience, or maybe you just go out to a family dinner, like whatever Christmas looks like for you, or the
Mm-hmm.
holidays, because we're not just talking Christmas.
Right.
Um, it's okay.
Right.
Let go of that pressure that you put on yourself and just Like, get back to what it's really about. Lauren and I keep saying, like, what the holidays are really about. It's about celebrating with your family. It's about spending time with your family, celebrating whatever holiday that you honor in your household. Like, it's not about the gifts.
Right. And then too, with that, Meg, like, again, going back to the kids, if we do that, again, what are we setting our kids up for in the future? Like, what are we teaching them if we continue to perpetuate this kind of behavior or, whatever perspective around the holidays? Because I mean, I know we all talk about it a lot. Most of us talk about, what's important with our kids, but again, more is caught than taught. And we need to make sure that, again, we are following through with our actions and our perspective and our attitude and all the different things, so I do think less is more in so many ways, you know what I mean? Especially with like gifting and things. And I do have those conversations like with my oldest for sure. He's 9 about, being mindful, like when he does go back to school about like gifts and things like that too. And like, honestly, like the big gifts come from mom and dad. It's not from Santa because obviously everyone's situation is different too. And I think it's important to teach them at a young age and, to be mindful of that.
Oh, absolutely. Right. And like Laura said, like so there's the 2 extremes, right? And then there's in the middle. There's the kids that get everything that they could ever want and more for Christmas. There's the kids that maybe don't necessarily get what they want. And from whatever angle you're coming from, whatever situation is true for your family, like talk to your kids. That's the gift. Having those conversations and teaching them things that are going to carry them through the rest of their lives. Because that's going to take care of them in so many places outside of Christmas. Being mindful of other people's feelings, learning that those material things are not what's most important. That's not what makes them less than or more than somebody else. And just like focusing on the lessons, right? The life lessons. We're teaching little humans how to be in the world. And maybe you don't have kids. Maybe you're listening to this and like, okay, I'm spending Christmas by myself. Right? Because that's not everybody's situation, that you're surrounded by family and friends, and you might be spending the holiday by yourself. Like, so if that is you, how are you taking care of yourself this holiday? How are you gifting yourself, whether with a spa day or maybe just like allowing yourself to relax and not feel the need to go and do and, produce whatever it is. Like, how are you taking care of yourself? How are you tending yourself? How are you gifting yourself this holiday?
Yeah. And actually, this reminds me of one thing I told Meg the other night that I did. I think it was like Thursday. We were just getting done like a session, like a healing session that we did. And we were kind of told like, make sure you make space for yourself, afterwards. And like, don't feel like the need to rush into whatever. So I said to Meg, she asked me like, what are you doing tonight to like, kind of ease into that? And I said, I'm just going to make a warm meal for myself. And I made like, I know it sounds silly, but I made like salmon. My husband hates it. He doesn't eat it or he like begrudgingly eats it if I cook it. But they weren't home. Like everybody went to wrestling. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to make that and I'm going to have a glass of wine and I'm going to sit in silence because it's never silent here. And I'm going to enjoy it. And so maybe again, for you, if you are someone who, like Meg said, you're going to spend the holiday alone or whatever it may be, like still do that for yourself, like indulge, make that warm meal. Who cares if it's just for you,
Yeah. And if you're looking for connection, like where can you volunteer?
Yeah.
Where can you go give back to people who may be experiencing a very similar Christmas to you? Because that not only is going to, yes, be helpful and be a kind way to spend your Christmas, but like it's a great way to make connection. When you're feeling like connection is lacking, like you might go and have some wonderful conversations and get to share a meal with somebody that you would have never otherwise crossed paths with.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you just had like a really nice experience volunteering over the weekend. And I think, and you're in a new area. So it's like, meeting new people. And I think that's one thing we have to remember too, is like, if you're longing for connection and relationship, like I know sometimes it's easier to like talk ourselves into kind of sitting back and waiting for that to happen. But like, that's very rare that's going to find you that way, right? Like what you seek is seeking you. So like get out there. Yes. And find, and it may be uncomfortable at first, right? Meg, you just went into a situation where you didn't really know anybody, right? Like new person in the area.
And everybody's like, oh, how how do you know? What are you here for? How do you know these people? I'm like, I don't. I'm here because like I knew one person there and I was there,
Right.
yes, supporting them, but because
Mm-hmm.
I genuinely wanted to be helpful, and it
Mm-hmm.
ended up being such a great weekend. I was supposed to work one shift and I worked three because I had such a great
Oh,
time.
I love that. Yeah. Yeah.
And
So
it's
you
not something I
find
do often. So don't sit here and think like, oh, she's high and mighty doing all of her volunteering. Like, I can't tell you the last time I volunteered, but I
Yeah.
will say that like now with this experience, I am much more inclined to go do it again
Mm,
because I was reminded, like, we talked about human design on our last episode. Like, I'm a four line. I love being in community and I work
mhm.
by myself at home by myself and forget like how fulfilling that really is
Mm,
for me. So,
yeah.
just to bring it back to the volunteering, if you are spending your time by yourself, it can be very fulfilling in that way too, to like know that you are contributing in some way.
Mhm.
And it
Mhm.
doesn't matter how. It doesn't have to be at a soup kitchen. Like, what
Right.
makes sense for you? Google some stuff.
Yeah.
Utilize that
Yeah.
internet, figure out what
And
makes sense for you.
and I love how you brought in human design too. You know what I mean? Because I think uh, it reminds me of what Dan said. Uh, one of the guys that actually edit our podcast, they looked at their human design after listening to our last episode, and they said like, I'm a projector and projectors like to be invited, and he literally was like, I will not go anywhere unless I'm invited. And it reminded me, Meg, of my grandma. My grandma, she will not go anywhere unless she's invited, and she like gets like pissed, like not pissed, but like
Oh yeah.
feelings can get hurt, you know what I mean? So I said to my husband, I was like, I wonder if my grandma's a projector. Like I didn't look her up, I need to look her up.
Oh my gosh.
But if you are a projector, I know that may be hard, right? To like let go of. Um, I don't know, Meg, what do you think about that? Because like I go with like, no, like if you feel like you want to go do something or you want to be somewhere, like you should go, whether you're
Yeah.
invited or not. But I don't know how that plays into human design, being that you are supposed to be invited.
Well, this is the invitation. It doesn't have to be like, hello, will
Mm.
you come do this? This is the invitation. The opportunity is presented to you, right? Someone's putting it into your field. If
Oh,
you
I
feel like you
love
might want to go
that.
volunteer, go do it. This is the invitation. Go look something up, figure out what works for you and do it, See what
Yeah.
life brings.
Oh, that's great. I love that.
Yeah, so let's talk about some let's see, what else do we want to talk about on our little holiday special? Because we definitely got off, I think, on
Yeah,
a little tangent from what we
we
initially
did
planned on
a little
talking
bit.
about.
Well,
Um,
one thing I hear a lot of this time of year too, and I used to be so guilty of this, like the end of the year is coming. Did you do everything that you said you wanted to do? Like,
right. Trying to like cram it all in
oh,
the last 2 weeks of the year. Fuck that.
when
Don't do
when
it.
everything else is like needs to be done and like this is the
Mhm.
time that you're supposed to spend with your family, like God, I was like, ugh. I was a slave to that mindset for a little bit. You know what I mean? And now I look
Mhm.
back on it, I'm like, yes, I will still work with intention and not throw my goals to the wind.
Right.
And I am also going to be intentional with that it is the holidays and I am going to spend time doing the things that bring me joy and being around the people that bring me joy, you know?
Yeah. It's so important, right? And I think I was the opposite of you. I've let go of a lot of it. But that victim, I'm like, "Oh, I didn't get all the things done. I'm a terrible person. I'm this, I'm that." Like, woe is me, which sounds so gross and I'm embarrassed to say it out loud. But like those were really the conversations that I've had with myself in the past. Like, "Oh, I wanted to get X, Y, and Z done and I only got X done and a little bit of W, but that wasn't even on my list." Like
Mm,
letting go, like this is a time
yeah.
for reflection. It's a time for like coming back to what's important. So from let's bring up Chinese medicine for a minute. So we are
Mhm,
moving into winter, right? And
mhm,
that is the time where you have let go of whatever doesn't serve you because we just moved out of the fall and you're focused on what is absolutely necessary for your survival. You get through winter, right? And you're preparing and planning while you kind of like come in and hibernate. That's what
mhm,
winter's about. It's about
mhm,
contraction. We're at the most contracted part of the year. Everything's still. If you look outside, the trees have lost their leaves. Like the air is more still than it is. And then spring hits and the wind picks up and you're like, all right, life is here, right?
right.
So in this point of contraction, the things that you need to survive are sleep. So really, really resting, giving
Mhm,
yourself that time. Like if you don't have to be at work, if you don't have anything pressing to do, allow yourself to sleep in that extra 30 minutes or an hour. Get the extra rest.
mhm,
Eating, right? Like everybody puts on their winter pounds. There's something really important about that. In the springtime, when that wind hits, all the sicknesses, like we're in a sick period right now, right?
Oh,
Where everybody's
yes.
got the flu and stuff. That'll slow down a little bit, and then it's going to pick back up in spring because we're going to have all those wind conditions. Wear a freaking scarf when it's windy outside, y'all. I swear it'll help you like not get sick as easily. But
Wow.
it's a time to pack on a little bit of extra weight. It's cold outside. It protects you, and your body needs that extra weight for when you do get sick. Because when we get sick, we don't eat as much, right?
You're right. That's a good point. Never thought of it that way.
So we need sleep, we need food, we need hydration. Make sure you're drinking plenty of water. It's dry
Right.
outside, right?
It
We walk
is.
around with chapped lips.
Yeah.
Hydrate yourself. Put a little sea salt in your water. Get those electrolytes. And family, connection. All
Hmm.
right. That is one of like the most important aspects to life.
Hmm.
Anybody that you talk to, and I am saying anybody, like I'm really committed to that word. Anybody that you talk to at the end of their life is not reflecting back on what they accomplished in their job. They're
Hmm.
reflecting back on the relationships they had and the the love and the joy that they shared with other people.
Hmm.
At least in my experience,
I
and
mean,
everything that I've read, like
yeah,
that's what it comes back to. It comes down
I
to the
agree.
love and the people. So
Hmm.
that's what this time of year is about. And let that be your driver.
Right. I unfortunately had to go to a few funerals over the past 2 weeks. And you're absolutely right. No one got up and talked about how ambitious the person was or how amazing they were in their career. Every single person that stood up, and there were a lot of smiles and laughs in that room, talked about all the memories they had,
Mm,
around holiday time or parties or get togethers or whatever it may be. And the sound of that person's laugh, their presence, how they made you feel special every time they talked to you. And it just
yeah,
brought me so much joy hearing that because, again, like I think we've said this before, like, how do you want to be remembered? Especially like
yeah,
this is a time of year when you're going to see a lot of your family and friends and your kids, obviously. And um, they're going to remember more about how you made them feel, maybe what you sounded like if you were laughing, whatever, than any present, than how your house looked, than anything like that. Like, so
absolutely.
that's what's like you really want to think about. Like, how are you showing up during this
Mm,
time? And if you are maybe a basket case right now and you don't feel like you're showing up, like this is your invitation to
yeah.
reflect upon that and think like, what are some ways that I can change that so I can really not only enjoy the season myself, but like let my family and friends feel that joy too, because
Yeah, totally.
people vibe
Take
off
the
that,
pressure
right?
off. Yeah, take
Mhm.
that pressure off. Your kids are
Mhm.
gonna get much more or, whoever you're around are gonna
Mhm.
get much more out of your presence than they are your stress.
Mhm.
Right? Like if you are running around like a basket case, how
Mhm.
does that show up everywhere else in your life? And really reflect on that. Like and take this moment now to let go of the pressure that you've put on yourself. Yes, do the things that you want to do, but take off the pressure and the need for it to be perfect or it to look a certain way. Get done what you can
Right.
get done, but don't let it take away from that actual time that you get to spend with your loved ones.
Yeah, and Meg, you had a really good point, and like just speaking of energy and like leaning into your joy, what happens? Like you just shared with me, you spent the weekend. You should have. I'm using air quotes. Should have
Mhm.
been doing something else. Building resumes, doing all that kind of stuff. But you chose to volunteer, and like you just said, you volunteered more than you said you were going to,
Yeah.
and you had a really great weekend for your meal prep business. Like you called in
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah, it showed
Right?
up totally differently. Yeah, and, like, there's a contract we're working on that, um, I kinda thought I got ghosted, right? Like, they were all about, like, "We need to get this done now, these are the start dates," and then the start dates pushed back, and I was waiting for a confirmation, and none of that came through, and I started to worry about it on Friday, right? Like, "Oh, no, the money, the
Mhm.
whatever," and I was like, "You know what? I this is not I can't fix it right now." They're not gonna be
Mhm.
sitting at their desk writing contracts over the weekend, like, these are the things that I want to do. And like as a generator, to go back to human design, I'm supposed to follow my joy. And I
Mhm.
knew that it would bring me joy to be so I was volunteering for like a junior theater group here that was doing a big production this weekend. And I knew that I would find joy there. And I did, God, so much. I was talking to Lauren about it, like, just getting to watch there were 60 kids in this production, you guys, and watching them work together like a fine-tuned machine, like,
Mm-hmm.
taking care of each other, making sure everybody had what they needed, doing quick costume changes in the back, like, and knowing each other's lines, cheering them on, like,
Oh.
oh, so they did Shrek, and, like, the guy that was Shrek was a senior in high school, and getting to see him with this group of 30, like, probably 3rd to 6th graders huddled around him, and him, like, getting them all pumped up before the show and seeing the light in their eyes just watching him, like, they're truly a family, and it was such a gift to be
Mm-hmm.
able to see people, like, supporting each other in that way, kids particularly, and then
Mm-hmm.
all of the other people that showed up around that to make sure that they
Mm-hmm.
had what they needed, like, I got so much out of that and was so reinvigorated in,
Mm-hmm.
like, thinking about how I wanna show up in life and how I wanna move through life, leaving that
Mm-hmm.
even if I hadn't had a great week, even
Mm-hmm.
if that contract didn't land on my in my emails at 8 o'clock this morning very promptly with an apology, like,
Mm-hmm.
I gained so much from following my joy and not getting caught up in what I should be doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as I know for me, I get guilty or I can be guilty of that too, like feeling like I should be doing something different.
Ugh, all the
But it's
time.
so true that when you do lean into that joy, things just magically happen to fall into place anyway, right? Or
They
things,
do.
new things come your way, or new people, new soulful connections will come your way.
Yeah,
So,
things you didn't think you needed,
yeah.
that you're like, "Oh god, I didn't know I needed my heart to be filled in that way this
Hmm.
weekend," and, like, it did, and now I'm so ready for what's coming.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I feel the same way. I had a great weekend too, being around lots of friends and family. And I feel the same way. Like going into this week, I filled my cup and now I know I do have some things that I have to get done, for all the things, work and the holidays.
Mhm.
But I'm ready for it, right? Other than,
Yes.
if otherwise if I just drained myself of whatever all weekend long, I would be just, I don't know, probably not mentally ready to take on the week or
Right.
whatever it may be. So what we're saying today is, again, especially around the holidays, just being aware of your energy, taking the pressure
How
off,
you're
like
spending
Meg
your
said.
time.
Yeah, how you're spending your time, really using this time to reflect. And we're going to get into this in the next couple weeks. We're going to talk more about reflection and pausing
Mhm.
for purpose and, moving forward into the new year and what that looks like and that kind of thing. But for now, really soaking up where we are in life in this moment with each other, and letting that carry us through the season. So,
Yeah, absolutely. Mm.
well,
We
it was
hope you
nice
guys found
chatting.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope you found this useful and, like, we haven't done a call to action in a while at the end of our episodes, but I want to do that with this one. Just,
Okay.
like, aside from just listening to this and going about your day, and if you did just get to the end of this and we're like, "Oh, yeah, 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 yeah," like doing 17 things while you're listening to it and halfway paying attention, I encourage
Right.
you to listen to it again and
Mhm.
take the time to reflect, like, as we're moving through those moments where you're like, "Oh, yeah, okay, that applies to me." Like, think about that and reflect because that's the best way to learn when you're, like, listening to podcasts or listening to an audiobook or reading or having a conversation, like, reflect on how that really relates in your life and how
Mhm.
you're feeling, right? Like, "Oh, yeah, I think I'm doing a really great job at being present with my family in the holidays." Like, if that's the feeling that you get when you're listening to this, then take a second to really, like, acknowledge yourself for it. Like,
Mhm.
"Oh, what a gift." Like, that's a gift that I'm offering the world is my presence, right? Like, I'm very, very practiced at that or whatever.
Mhm.
Or if you're hearing, like, if you're sitting there thinking like, "Man, I really could do this differently or that differently," like, recognize that and then make a plan for how you actually can put that into use.
Yeah. One thing I read recently too is the faster you implement what you learn, the more successful you are. So, like, again, like Meg said, really soak it in. I know that I try to apply what I learn. Meg is this almost immediately.
Yeah.
I'm just like, let's do this. I get
Yes.
excited and I like, but but yeah, the other thing too I was gonna say is that I know that I could totally learn more things of how
Mm.
to, during this time, how to really enjoy it more or just, take the stress off, take the pressure off. So if you have some suggestions or some tips that you want to shoot our way and we can post them too on our Instagram stories, that would be awesome too. Because I'm sure we
Yeah.
all can learn from each other and really help each other,
Yes,
especially during
absolutely.
this time of year.
Build the community. You know, yes, we sit here and we talk about our perspective on things all the time, but like yours is also important. We are just two humans, like making our way and enjoying this human experience, and we would love to learn from you.
Yes. Awesome.
Thanks,
Well,
guys.
see you later.
Bye.